Good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's problem-solving discussion. First and foremost, a lovely shout out to our lecturer, Madam Shalini. Without further ado, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Na Yong Tek, matrix number 254989.
My name is Leong Yu Chi, matrix number 252885.
My name is Tai Gian Hong, the matrix number 254386.
And my name is Tan Ken Hua. My matrix number is 252836.
My name is Yap Wei Jen. My matrix number is 253070.
All right, without wasting time, let us move on to our problem-solving discussion. Today, we'll be explaining about poverty in the bottom B40 community of Malaysia. Now, I will describe briefly the nature of the problem. All right, so first and foremost, the National Poverty Line Income, which is also known as PLI, has been revised recently by Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, with the poverty line revised from 908 ringgit to 2,208 ringgit in the July 2020. However, the minimum wage in Malaysia has not increased, which means it is at a stagnant 1,200 ringgit Malaysia. This has caused over 400,000 households in the country with monthly income below this level to be considered living in poverty. Now, poverty has created problems in which the B40 community finds it difficult to meet their necessity due to increase in expenditure, which outstrips the increase in income. It is necessary to solve the problem because poverty will increase health risks. Low-income individuals experience higher rate of illness, disease, disabilities, thus a lower standard of quality living. The biggest and most obvious implication is children in the family will now face a lack of nutrient, struggle with chronic food insecurities, hunger, malnutrition, which then may cause global hunger. Now, this will cause poor families unable to provide a good educational environment for their children, thus making them lack of education, the ability to think, leading to an increasing number of poor families in the country. Another implication is that the probability for domestic violence and the crime rate will increase. By solving this problem, it will help to decrease the socio-economics problem, increase the purchasing power, thus making the standard living of people higher. Household will be able to meet their amenities, increase the number of people in poverty, with exposure to education, which will then help to reduce crime rate and domestic violence. This will definitely bring about a better change to our country. Now, let us move on, where we will now suggest a possible, or we will now provide possible and good suggestion. Yuki.
Okay, the solution that I suggested is education scholarship. Okay, this solution is focused on the education by providing more scholarship towards B40 community to ensure their future. And this can be done by making sure that eligible of students from B40 community will be given scholarship to their further studies. For example, SPM candidates or SPM candidates can apply for a sponsorship that is under B40 programs. And these programs target students pursuing their diploma level and professional certificates in institutions identified from the breakout of low-income families. And these families will receive as in terms of scholarships. So this solution will help the B40 committee to decrease their burden, and the student can continue their further studies.
All right, thank you so much, Yuki. Mr. Tan Tian Huat.
Based on my opinion for the solution, I think government provides some buffers. For example, the P14 committee has low-cost medical equipment, free education, and other benefits. For the example, Malaysians only need pay 1 ringgit for the fee when they need medical service in government hospital. After that, in Malaysia, the cost of education for the people is very low. The cost of elementary and secondary school is almost zero, and even private university can enjoy PTPTN or JPS grants. When they get good grade, the grants has the opportunity to get discount or even free. In addition, the government can also provide some assistance to help those in need. For example, the government actually provide 15 ringgit to Malaysian citizens between 18 years old and 20 years old.
All right, thank you
That's
so
all.
much. Next, Mr. Wei Jian.
Okay, so for me, I have a solution which is provide the job opportunities for those B40 communities. So government can provide jobs by creating more job opportunities, especially for the B40 communities. And this can be much easier for them to step out from the poverty zone. So government can collaborate with the private company or government agencies to provide some job opportunities for those B40 communities. So, and provide them with the working contract so that they can ensure that those B40 communities can be getting their income for coming years.
All right, thank you so much. What about you, Mr. Tai Kin Hong?
Actually, from my opinion, I disagree with the solution that's suggested by Lucas just now. Because from my opinion, the government should increase the minimum wage, this solution that I suggested. So the government should enforce the law and make the minimum wage of the country to be higher. So this can somehow help to increase the purchasing power, and it should be compulsory given by the employer. So just now, I think now you also talk about that the Department of Statistics Malaysia has been revised the poverty line to 2,208 ringgit, right? In July 2020, but the minimum wage in Malaysia is currently 1,200 ringgit. So at this point, we are not going to say we increase the minimum wage to be so high, like 2,000 something like that. But the minimum wage should at least more sustainable for the poverty group, for more and more affordable to buy the things that necessity that for the living purpose. So this because the B40 community currently had difficult for them to cover their basic necessity as their salary is hard to meet the rate of inflation or the cost of living is increased higher recently. Yeah, that's my solution that's suggested.
Thank you very much, Kan Hong. I found that the four of your solution is wonderful. So here I would like to also voice out on what I would suggest. So to me, I think the biggest point for me is definitely skill sets from the B40 community. So what we can do is to implement skill sets platform to be provided for them to be educated to learn. This will help to provide opportunity for them to learn specific skill sets such as business modeling, ICT, engineering, even the most basic Microsoft. Yes, because I feel that nowadays a lot of people, we don't say B for me, even the normal people, their skill sets is slightly lower, thus causing a low demand, low supply. What people want to see nowadays is a range of skill sets that can be done. So my suggestion is definitely to apply skill sets platform to provide to these B40 committees for them to learn, so that when they show their resume, their CV, they have a range of skill sets that they can be used to be implemented and to wow the employers. Yep. All right. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you so much. All right. Since we have already provided our solutions, I think it's a fair share to say that we also should decide on what kind of criteria do we want to be based on, so that we can have a rough idea on how we want to fix our solution. All right. So each of us will name one criteria and roughly explain what is the criteria about. All right. Shall we start with you, Ms. Yuki?
Okay. The criteria that I suggested is cost, that the amount of money needed to implement the solution. And this criteria can be described by three categories. First, in expensive, there is under RM 500 million. And second, average, there's between 500 million to 849 million. And the third one is expenses, that is RM 850 million and above. And that is my suggestion for the criteria.
All right, thank you so much, Yuki, for your criteria. And I truly agree with the criteria I mentioned. Next, Mr. Tan Tian, what would you suggest for criteria?
My suggestion for criteria is duration. Duration is time need to implement the solution. For the short, can be implemented immediately up to a year. For the long, request to be implemented more than a year. That's all for me.
Yes, I agree with you. Duration is definitely a very important criteria. What about you, Mr. Tai Kian Hong? What criteria would you suggest?
The criteria that I suggested to be evaluated is the sustainability, okay, which refer to the ability to maintain the solution at a certain period. Okay, so there are two, sustainable and not sustainable. For sustainable, it will up to 5 years and above, while for the not sustainable, it will be below 5 years. So this is important as this criteria will determine how long the solution will be last and implemented can last and how the solution will be success.
Yes,
yeah, that's
I totally agree with you. Sustainability is definitely super important as well. What about you, Mr. Yap Wei Jian? What criteria do you suggest?
So the criteria I will suggest is the efficiency, which means the ability to implement the solution. So we have three, which is efficient, moderate, and poor. So for efficient is it can be implemented. For moderate is there is a few of challenges to implement, while for the poor is there is a lot of challenges and may not be implemented.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Wei Jian. Efficiency is also another key factor. Lastly, for the fifth one, which I would like to suggest, is definitely legalistics and relevant party involvement. As all of our solution has mentioned, I realized that there are relevant parties which needed to be interacted with for us to collaborate. So I have definitely broken it down into three different functions. The first one is heavily involved, which means we requires a lot of collaboration. The three main collaboration is definitely with NGOs, private, and public sector. Next one is moderately involvement, which means it only requires either public or private sector. And lastly, there requires no involvement, means that it does not require any involvement from any party. The government is enough.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right.
We have mentioned 5 of our criteria. Let's move on to our next, which is we will now compare all our 5 solutions that was mentioned, and now we will base it on the 5 criteria mentioned. So let's head over back to Ms. Leong Yuchi.
Okay, my solution is education scholarships. So based on the first criteria, duration, the time needed to implement this solution is short because it can be implemented immediately up to a year. The second, there is a moderately relevant party involvement that is needed to be interact with to collaborate in this solution. The education scholarships are mainly offered by government agency and private higher education institution. Next, this solution is efficient and sustainable because it can be implemented and maintained up to 5 years and above. However, the cost is expensive because it requires 850 million and above.
I see. Thank you very much. What about you, Mr. Tan Tian Hua?
For my solution is provide referrals. I think duration of provide referral is for very short time only. For the legalistic relevant party investment is heavy investment, and efficient is only moderate. It can help some time only, but cannot long time. For the suitability criteria, I think it is not suitable and the cost is very expensive for my solution. That's I think my solution is not good for this to solve this problem. That's all for me.
All right, thank you so much. What about you, Mr. Yap Wei Jian?
Okay, so for my solution, which is provide the job opportunity. So for the duration, it will be long as I have mentioned just now. The B40 committees will be under the working contract with the companies. So it will more than 1 year and it will take for several years maybe. So for the legalistic and the relevant party involvement, it will be the heavy involvement as the government will be collaborate with the local companies and also the NGO to provide the headhunt service for the B40 communities in order to provide them the job opportunities. So go for the efficiency, right? It will be moderate as there is a few of challenges for government to implement this solution. So for sustainability, it is sustainable as it can be maintained up to 5 years. So for the cost, is not that expensive as this for this solution, it won't cost for huge amount of the money.
All right, thank you so much. What about you, Mr. Kian Hong?
From my opinion, based on the criteria that listed above, the first duration, which is the time needed to implement a solution, yeah, it may take some time before the implementation of the policy, but actually this solution can be implemented immediately within a year after a discussion with the relevant party approved by the government's party and announced to public by the Prime Minister during the annual budget. So actually the duration to implement this solution is short, we consider as short. So well, for the criteria, legalistic and relevant party involvement, so actually discussion and consultation need to be carried out by the government with various stakeholders such as employer and employee organizations. So this solution policy will also involve such as the Human Resource Ministry to realize it after the announcement of this policy. So numerous meetings and deliberation will need to be carried out. However, it's still considered as moderately involvement in this implementation of the policy as it only involves government and selected private or the organizations such as employee organizations. Okay, so in short, it's moderate involvement. Well, for the efficiency, it is efficient, yes, as it can be implemented. Implemented the solution, and our opinion is yes, because it is a win-win situation. So from the perspective of the business or private sector, is raising the minimum wage will certainly reduce the worker turnover. Okay, so this is because higher wage will lead to resulting in reduced recruiting and the training costs. Well, from the perspective of government, it will certainly increase the purchasing of the poverty groups, and thus the additional income will entirely revert back to the economy. So, well, for the criteria sustainability, to be honest, it's not sustainable, but due to the inflation now. However, based on the National AIDS Consultative Council Act 2000, I think is 11, it stipulates that the review must be done at least one each year. Okay, so thus the action on improving the minimum wage as well as increasing the minimum wage should be carried out every 2 years at least once. Okay, so we think it is not sustainable for this solution. Well, for the last solution, last criteria will be the cost to implement this solution. From my opinion, it's inexpensive because it actually did not cost us much to implement this solution, but actually it needs the cooperation of a private and public sector to such employee increasing the minimum wage of the employees. So in fact, the government should enforce the law so that all the employer will carry out and implement these solutions. So yeah, that's all for me.
All right, thank you. So now on my solution, which is to provide skill sets platform. So I'll be based on this criteria. So the first one will definitely be duration. So the duration to implement this solution, which is to provide skill sets, actually it's quite long. In fact, it should be carried out continuously. Therefore, it is categorized as a long duration. The next criteria, which is the legalistics and relevant party involvement, this actually requires heavy involvement because it requires both private, public, as well as NGO societies to help out to provide this platform. The next is efficiency. This is efficient as it can be carried out and it will definitely be able as well to be sustainable because this can definitely last for a long time. When one person has a skill sets, it will be with them forever. So it is definitely sustainable. And lastly, for the cost of this solution is actually average, where because some of the cases of the skill sets provide platform is actually from volunteer, from NGOs and societies, it is actually free. But however, we must also consider the fact that there are private institutions which is also providing this platform. Thus, a cost is needed as well. All right. So that is the 5 solutions based on the 5 criteria mentioned. Now it has come to the final section of our discussion, which is to vote on which solution do we agree that should be implemented. All right. So everyone gets to only vote once. And so from this voting, you also get to choose why you vote for it and how can we implement it. All right. So let's start off with Yuki.
In my opinion, I think that provide skill sets is the best solution to solve the poverty in B40 community, because the training can enhance their skill and knowledge in order to increase their income, and it's also create a platform for existing employee to certify through the upskilling training. So I think that government should provide more opportunity for B40 community by organizing more programs and courses that are related and suitable for their level, such as business modeling courses. That's all for my opinion.
Thank you so much, Yuki, for your vote. So you have voted for skill sets platform. All right. What about you? What do you vote for?
Based on my opinion, I totally agree about Yuki just now said. Provide skill can increase their P40 company, their ability. When they have ability, the company will give higher wage to them. That's the reason why I agree about this solution. In my opinion, the government should work together with company and provide more trainings course to P40 community and give the opportunity to work. That's it can solve this problem. That's I think that's all for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ahwat. So you have also voted for skill set platform. All right. What about you, Mr. Weijian?
Okay, so for me, right, I will still stand on my point as job opportunity will be the best choice where B40 committee will fully benefited. Okay, so from my point of view, education scholarship can ensure B40 committees future to be better, but it would not ensure that they won't be facing unemployment in the future. Same goes to the minimum wages. It is true that minimum wage can ensure B40 committees get their basic pay and won't be exploited by their employer. But if there is no job opportunity, they will still same facing the employment issue, and they will not getting or receiving any income or wages. So they are still living in the poverty zone. Yeah, that's all for my point.
I see. I truly understand your point where you definitely disagree with us and agree that with your own point, which is to provide job opportunities. All right. So now we have 2 votes on skill sets and 1 vote on job opportunity. All right, Mr. Kenho, what would you vote for?
From my opinion, I will also agree to the solution by providing more skill set to the groups to be the best solution rather than providing more job opportunity. Okay, so I understand what Lucas trying to bring out about his suggested solution, but I think that the problem is still there if they are not being offered a job by the employer as they do not have the related skill or the knowledge that needed by the employer. So I will prefer the best solution to be by providing the skill set to the group, because the low skill set actually perpetuate the inequality and the poverty. So in my opinion, the government should also cooperate with the private or the sector or organization by helping them to learn the job-related skill set by organizing program or courses such as ICT and engineering courses, which are needed and crucial in the current market. Yeah, that's all.
I definitely agree with you. So now we have a 3 vote for skill set and 1 vote for job opportunity. So for me, I also stand on my own solution, which is for skill set solution. The reason being so is not just of what you all mentioned, but as well as the most crucial part is what Mr. Ken has mentioned, the skill set needed, where companies are looking for a certain skill set, where if the company itself provide the skill sets platform to the B40 community, this will definitely help to secure job, help to move them out from the poverty line. So I definitely agree with my own solution as well, and I definitely agree with all of your points. So my vote will go to skill set platform. So we have come to the end of our voting session where 4 of us have agreed to implement providing more skill sets platform to the B40 community to bring them out from poverty. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating today, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.